There we go. Fantastic. I remembered. So, welcome to our lovely weekend together. And this is part of a six sessions, and it is really a quite experiential. We're going to be working with Cacao to guide us through. And how I like to run my trainings is that we have a experiential session in the morning and then we have teaching session in the afternoon. The first weekend, this weekend, is to be introduced and begin our journey together with Cacao within a container. And that will be done through tasting and journaling and a journey. I love to work with free dance as well, so we're going to do a bit of that as well, and also yoga. So we've got like a little combo of. So it's going to be a lovely retreat style. It's not all going to be learning, and what I would just suggest is that you don't try to retain information as such. It's not a training that's done in a way from the head. It's more of a way of just letting yourself absorb what is needed, because all of the information is in your manual, so you can go back to that whenever you feel like drawn. It's a little bit different, and I think that generally we are beginning to live a bit differently in that, rather than always being in the head and letting the head kind of work it all out, figure it all out. This is about really working from the heart. And I think, with Cacao, this has been one of my greatest teachers and teachings through allowing a plant medicine who is so beautiful and so gentle and so wise and such a hard taskmaster also. So don't think it's all going to be a floaty ride, because I liken her to Kali goddess. So she's quite a hardcore goddess if we are, off track. So she will definitely pull us back in. So the first weekend is all about our introductions. Tomorrow we're going to work with the rhythms of the planet, because the medicine of Cacao is a very much earth element. She's really calling us to connect with the seasons, the cycles, living with the heart, being more relaxed, more chilled out, really just following our flow. So tomorrow we're going to work a little bit more around self-massage. We're going to do some yoga. We're going to do some ceremony. We're going to do journaling. And yeah, we're just going to have a lovely, lovely session, because the kind of knowing that I have is that when we are relaxed, our soul can bubble to the surface and really show us where we are and where we're going and where we're heading, and then where we can kind of inspire others to do the same. So you'll get quite an in-depth teachings around Cacao, and also weave a little bit with your energies as well. And the second weekend is going to be about creating your own ceremonies. We're going to work with like contraindications, what we can do, what we can't do. Working with the elements, setting up sacred space, which I know some of you are already doing, but you never know, you might find something different, or you might be inspired to do something different. And then the last weekend, we will work with the kind of more businessy, how, setting it up, working in a soul aligned way, again, rather than from the head. So we're going to learn to call in our kind of soul aligned tribe, who, are going to love the medicine that we've got and what we're going to teach. And so that will be a nice session also, just getting clarity about where we're going and who we're becoming next. So we're also going to do some journey around that. Tomorrow we're going to do a journey with the girls we used to be, the women we are now, and the women we're yet to become. So again, we get that clarity on where we're heading. And then the last day is a Kali dance ceremony, where we will throw into the fire anything that is no longer serving us. Saturday will tend to be either a dance journey, which is done blindfolded, and Sunday will tend to be yoga, or the other way around. So I'll just play it by ear, really, of what I feel is going to be calling. So mornings are going to be like a retreat, and afternoons are going to be learning. Does that all sound okay? Brilliant. All right, so let's have a little moment to ground ourselves. And I'm going to take you through a little grounding practice that I've got a video on, actually, so I can share that in the group. And this is so great, just because it's easy and it's quite quick to do, but it just really allows all of our energy to ground itself. So we're going to start off by just rubbing your palms together and create a little bit of heat in your hands. And then just place your palms flat down on your knees. So from there, I'm going to lengthen up through your spine a little bit. Again, just close your eyes down. And again, we're going to just re-establish that rooting chord. So just really asking your energy to ground, or telling it, commanding it to ground. So with the palms down, again, just allowing everything to begin to settle, the physical body relaxing. So just bringing your awareness up around your head and your face, and just notice if there are any areas that you might be holding a little bit of tension around your jaw, around your neck and your throat. Allowing your shoulders to relax. And your arms, hands, fingers can also relax. And then just imagine that all of the muscles of your spine begin to relax. The whole of your back body can just arrive and be present and just really open to receive. The front body can relax, the chest, the belly, and the hips and the pelvis just gently resting on the ground. And the legs and the feet can relax. So just having a few breaths to really nourish your body. And again, just allow yourself to feel held, supported. And then with your next breath, just feel that you're gently drawn up through the crown of your head. Just feel that you are connected to a beautiful crystal energy that flows in through the crown of your head. And as you bring your awareness to the center of your chest, imagine a beautiful heart cave filled with the most beautiful crystals and jewels, shine in the light of 1,000 suns. And as you step inside and take a seat there, just offering to our heart, hello heart, I'm here. Hello heart, I'm here. I love you and I'm listening. I love you and I'm listening. So from this space, we'll open our circle to the women who held us our whole lives. We gave great thanks. To the women around us who dance with us, sing with us, and impart their love and wisdom to us on a daily basis, we gave great thanks. To the wise women of our futures, the ones who aren't yet born, the ones who are still so young but will teach us the most, and our beautiful sisters in our circle, we gave great thanks. Our circle is now open. And taking a lovely deep breath for yourself. Dear cacao carrier, you may think that you have chosen to work with sacred cacao, but in fact, she has chosen you. To be a carrier of sacred cacao is a great honour. To sit with her as an elder, like the Mayans and Aztecs did so many years ago, means that you're about to embark on a deep journey within your soul. Such a beautiful gift to yourself, and a great honour to work with the heart-opening sacred plant medicine of cacao. And she is that, a medicine. Drink her slowly, with intention and with thought, and she will deliver to you everything that you need from your very core. Just taking a moment to allow yourself to be really open to the guidance and to the teachings, to the history, so that you can absorb it into your heart space. Again, I would most definitely set an intention that you will surrender to allow plant medicine, our beautiful plant teacher, to guide us, to teach us. So that you are not running the show, but she is carrying you. So any ideas that you may have already, I should just let them settle for now. Allow them just to take a back seat. And as we move into this first weekend together, this first module together, this is all about you. And it's all about your connection, your relationship with cacao. And it's all about how you nurture yourself. Because if we cannot hold space for ourselves, then we cannot hold it for anybody else. So we make a sacred commitment that through this next 4-week journey, we will hold space for ourselves and allow the medicine to gently guide us and teach us. And just allowing your breath to gently deepen. And just allowing your eyes to open when you are ready. And let's light our candles. And you've also got in your little kit a little red band. So we'll pop our little red bands on together as we enter into this lovely space together. And I think one of the the greatest teachings, I guess, that I've had through cacao is about surrendering. and letting the medicine lead rather than being the lead, thinking in our silly little muggle minds that we are in charge of everything. And we've got it all worked out. Because I think when we start to work in this way, we realize that, actually we know nothing. I think that is the best way to approach this. So just pop in your candle wherever it is comfortable and safe. And our candle lighting is a lovely way to really honor the light within us, and to share with us the mini enlightenments that we may get throughout this journey. So I'm going to open up with the cacao ceremony format, and I think this is in your book, but if it's not in there, and it might have changed a bit because I've just had a little bit of a mess around with it actually, I have put a little link to it, and I will also send you it as well as a like a message in an email. So this is the format that I love to work with, and like with all of my trainings, what I say is this is about you creating your own unique offering. It's not really about doing it, it's got to be that way or it's got to be this way, but this is the way that I've worked with it, and it's the way that I find really works. So we'll go through the format first, and I think that's probably going to be a good place to start. So grounding is like the most important, it's the most important thing when we're working in a spiritual capacity, whether it is in a yoga class, whether it is in a ceremony, in any circle. Grounding is the most important part. It is the most important part for ourselves as well. So for some of us, it may be really easy for us to be very much in the in the spiritual realms up here, and it can be really easy to be there. It's really exhausting for the little human. So I want us to be really aware, if we're not already, that we have a muggle self. This is our muggle human self. And we also have a spirit self. The spirit self has no fear whatsoever. It absolutely has no fear. It is expansive. It knows exactly what is the best thing for you to do. Knows exactly the next best step for you to take. And the human self goes, what the actual, I can't do this. So we have these two things that often happen together. So when our human is feeling nice and grounded, and we're quite stable in ourselves, in however that works for us, whether it is dropping a grounding cord every morning, our daily practice every morning, which we're going to go through, this is going to help us to stay grounded, because what happens, we're in a container of transformation. And what happens with transformation is our muggle self will completely freak out over any sort of movement, because any transformation is going to feel uncomfortable, and our ego mind is going to jump in straight away and tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And all of this stuff going on. So we're going to be working with this format to help us journey through to the other end, where we will come to a place of complete alignment, complete confidence to deliver and go out and share the medicine from a real deep place of trust and knowing ourselves. And this is really what this journey is about. It's about getting to know ourselves more. So grounding is always the first thing in everything. Earth element, being grounded in the muggle self and honouring that we have this muggle that we need to navigate on a daily basis. So arrival, when we come into our, we're going to have made our cacao, we need to set a time of when we do that. So again, mornings might not work for everybody. I love to do early morning. It might be afternoons, it might be an evening. So there may be different times where your morning, your ceremony, your small ceremony, your self-holding is going to fit for you. And we're going to work a little bit with that tomorrow and see how that's going to fit and where it's going to fit. So having a moment to really honor ourselves. So your doggy. Muggle. It's the old Muggle world. It's perfect. So perfect. I love it. Yeah, we have this Muggle. Yeah, I've got Muggles here too. It's interesting. So yeah, so we introduce ourselves to our session, whatever that is, and checking in with where we're at. Now, I really want to, and I teach this a lot in my yoga training and in all of the trainings, is what I want us to be aware of. It's not all shiny. Being in a spiritual development or a personal development journey is not ever going to be all sweetness and light. That is not how it works. I swear like a trooper. You will know if you've met me before. I am real. I say it as it is, and this is how I am. And the more in my personal journey, the more I've allowed myself to be more of who I am without trying to be something different, the more aligned I become, the more real I become, and the more authentic I become. So that is really where we want to be. So when we start off our journey in every daily practice, we want to be really checking in with where we're at. And if we're in a dark place, we honor that. It's okay, like, not to have it all together, and it's all right to fall apart sometimes. It's all right not to get it all perfect. This is not what it's about. It's about really honoring the shadow, because that's really where the growth is. So that is, that will also come up. So journaling and an oracle are a great way to really, just allow everything to come, out of the body onto the page, so we can completely, defog the mirror. I always call it, like, just clear it out, see what's present, what we're aware of. If there's anything, like I say, anything going on for us that we just want to be aware of and accepting of it. And the more accepting of it we are, the quicker that energy is going to move on. So we might not know where we are one day, and that's completely okay. We might be full of the joys of spring, and that's totally okay too. So just having an awareness of where we're at is just, lovely. It's just great to honor ourselves. We will have our cacao. So the cacao is a lovely way to, again, let the human drop a little bit, allow the medicine to kick in and take us, and to allow that to guide us to where our next step is. And there's a few different ways to do that. So we allow ourselves to ground, take in the medicine, have a moment to sit with it. You might work with a mudra. There's lots of stuff in the manual which you can work with, mudra. And then your journaling, whether that be full morning pages, so you do like your 3 pages, or you might use guided prompts. Then movement. So I tend to do it that way. So I will often then either do like I don't know, a 20-minute dance journey. I might do an hour's yoga practice. I might go out for a walk with the dog and then come back and do my yoga. So, movement of some description. So just some sort of movement to really allow any energy that's come up through journaling to move itself. And then like a re-establishment of our center, finding our center again, re-grounding it all, and then getting on with our day. So those are the steps. We don't have to get all that together at once. It might be just that we do one thing. We might layer on another thing. And I always say with this stuff, we've got plenty of time to start to layer these practices in, and we don't have to do it straight away. So that is kind of like the format. And within all of that, we're going to work with nature and the rhythms of the day and the moons and all of that stuff as well. So that is like the format. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, great. Some of you are probably already doing it, and that's completely amazing. But again, it's just like often re-establishing sometimes, because sometimes I think we can, I know just from my own journey is that sometimes I'm just not really present. I might be sitting there and I might be, but I'm not really present. So I think there's always an invitation just to, be present again and just come back to it, because we can get all a bit all over the place. So I'm going to just share a little bit about my own personal journey with cacao and why I love this teacher plant. So I suppose I kind of found cacao, my own journey with cacao, by accident, sort of, really. And it was a time when my mum had just been diagnosed with cancer, and I was teaching yoga at the time. I was teaching a lot of yoga classes at the time. I was running some circles. I think I had just started running circles, but I wasn't working with cacao. In fact, I was working with powdered cacao as like a superfood, because at that time I think it was just starting to come out that this was a really good like a supplement, really. So I was having powdered cacao like a hot chocolate at bedtime, and that was how I first started working with cacao. And then when my mum was sick, and observing my mum's journey to cancer, I kind of realized that my mum was quite a workaholic, so she never took time for herself. She was very stoic. She never shared anything about what she was feeling. She didn't do any of that sort of practice. I think she did used to do yoga when she was young, but she never did. There was never really any time for herself. And so she was running on burnout, I think, for a lot of years. She had her own businesses and stuff. So when she started off with the cancer, I decided that I would like to dedicate all of my life to women. And actually what it would be, that would look like, is that I wanted to create spaces where women could relax. That was the main thing, was just allowing and inviting women to relax, because actually as women, we tend to not give ourselves permission, because we have often had mothers who have been, again, driven, and we might have just followed those patterns, or it's just not been something that historically women do. If we sit down and we're not doing anything, we're lazy or we feel guilty. And so a lot of it was around that. And then I'd also been on a training and learned that a very high percentage, like way over 85% of women's dis-ease, is caused through lack of expression, which is mental, that we think that this, just lack of actually being able to say what we feel is what, often is causing women's illness and disease. So I went about creating circles so that I could start to kind of remedy that within my own community anyway. And that was really where it all began. So that, I could encourage women to express how they're feeling, and it'd be okay not to be okay, because I think this is quite a big thing, is that we are forever we're showing up all sweetness and light and all of that stuff, and actually we're on a bit of a rage, like a bit of sacred rage going on inside, and we might not be actually sharing that. So I think as a space holder, I think it's a lovely offering to be able to hold that space for women to actually be in truth with themselves. And, for me, cacao is a medicine of truth and alignment to the heart. And when we're living out of alignment with the heart, then life can feel very, very off center. It can feel, exhausting as well, because I think when we're working and we're living energetically out of alignment, it's like consistently pushing against a closed door, and that, or holding a ton of weight on our shoulders that, we don't need to carry. So this was kind of like initial introduction to. During all of that time, I went down to Glastonbury for the first time ever, and I'd never been before. And just randomly, as I was there was a lovely Mexican girl, South American girl, who was running a cacao ceremony in the local ashram. So we said, she invited us. So we said, oh, we'll go. No clue. I'd never been to a ceremony before. Never even, never really heard of them as such. And went to this cacao ceremony, and it was absolutely divine. And it was like, it kind of opened up this space of really deepening that circle experience with ease, really, because the medicine was doing the work. It's like, we don't have to, we don't have to be in charge of all of this. It's like the medicine naturally opens hearts, and so it kind of takes people to where we want them to be in that space and be open, to the magic and to being together. So the ongoing journey of that, a lot has been around the witch wounds and how women generally or often are in either competition with each other, or they just distrust. There's quite a historical distrust within women. And this competitive nature. And when we look at the sister wound around, how women had to, speak out against each other to save their own lives, often that, we can kind of see why historically this energy is still with us. And during, my own work, we've done amazing ceremonies to bury crystals in the earth and plant roses for these women, and with the Medicine Spoon Memorial, which has just been resurrected, actually, honor the women that have been, that have died for us, really. And so this has been kind of part of my journey with cacao. I also then went to another ceremony whereby cacao was moving through my body like ayahuasca plant. It was like, I came out of that going, oh my God, I seriously I've got to work, I've got to share this medicine. So there are some strains of cacao that are grown alongside ayahuasca, is quite often, because of the area where they're grown, they're often grown together. And I haven't ever done ayahuasca. I haven't had a initiation with ayahuasca as yet, but I do know people who have, and have said that cacao is very similar, maybe fractionally gentler medicine, but very similar kind of plant medicine. So I think initially what we first want to be really aware of is she is a teacher plant. So she will teach you and she will guide you to where your soul needs to be. So there may be areas in your life already that you think I want you to be really aware as we go through this journey of what feels heavy and what feels light, because they are your deciding factors on everything, and the choices that we make and the decisions that we make and the avenues that we're guided towards. Does it feel heavy and does it feel light? Because these are really good. This is how I feel you would have, before we got taken up into the head through the, Industrial Revolution and pulling away from nature and, just pulling away from cyclical living. This is how we would have made decisions, because we could feel it in our gut. We could feel that, that gut reaction, that gut knowing. And so I want to really guide us all back to our intuition, and know what is right, what is right from our deepest self, that, we can trust that. So she's a teacher plant, she's a plant medicine, and she's also a heart medicine. So she is a medicine of the heart. Because of the compounds that are in the medicine, in the plant, in the bean itself, which I'll share with you as we go along, it aligns perfectly with the heart. So the like my main practice with cacao is a daily ritual that allows me to sit and hear myself, literally sit and hear myself, be able to go deeper into my heart space, to know what is the next right step for me, what is my part in that step, and, you know, again, live in that place of presence where, you know, we are following the guidance, literally the guidance and the wisdom of heart rather than head, because you know, it's not like we are learning something new. So I want you just to be really aware we're not really learning something new. We are remembering. We're just remembering. And this medicine is allowing us to remember who we are and what we came here to do. So it's like a yeah, like a remembering that will guide us towards living a fulfilled life. And that is really what it's all about. So the molecules, or one of the main molecules within cacao is actually called anandamide, and ananda means bliss. It's a bliss molecule, and ananda is about being in alignment with bliss, with love, and, you know, living in our love lane, like literally living in a flow state. And everything is possible within that when we take the head out of it. You know, the amount of money we earn or call in or transmit, you know, money is also energy. The people that we work with, you know, calling in our soul aligned people, which then makes life super easy because everybody's on the same page. We're all vibing the same kind of vibe. And also like knowing that everybody, no matter how, it's like the yoga thing, isn't it? When I first started teaching yoga 20 years ago, there weren't many yoga teachers around. Now they're everywhere. But actually, it's better that way. Like it's you know, it doesn't mean that it makes anybody calling less. It's just because we call in the people who love what we do. And that's really what, you know, what is will happen as we go along. And you know, there is more and more of these spaces needed. Like, you know, women's circles are needed. Like Amy was saying, I remember Amy saying, like, I want to set up something in the borders, but I don't think it'll take off. And I know you know, she's like flying with it already. And where Amy is very close to where a lot of the witch trials actually took place. So, you know, she has got a real strong ancestral healing job, you know, really in this field, I feel. So I should definitely have a look at the areas where you live as well and see, you know, if there's any kind of ancestry around that as well. Because I think if we're called to this medicine, I feel, and called to circle, I feel that you know, there is that lineage within us. So one of the interesting things with cacao, and especially for women, I mean, it is completely amazing for men as well, of course, but for women, it has like so many like vitamins and minerals that completely support a woman's body, especially through perimenopause and into menopause. So a lot of the you know, the compounds, the minerals that have depleted in our soil now, cacao holds, like, you know, she really holds them. So there are over 300 nutrients within cacao. So I always call her like a bit of a multivitamin in a cup. Like, you know, she literally like honors every single part of our system, you know. And one of the lovely compounds within cacao, which I find, or minerals within cacao, which I find is very much related to where we're at right now, is magnesium, which completely calms the nervous system, which is really, you know, what I've been saying in my yoga trainings and, you know, everything that I do, that the calmer that we are, the more grounded that we are, the more, you know, kind of balanced the nervous system is, the more easeful it is for us to, you know, step into those next versions of ourselves. We're not so triggered by other people, and, you know, we're just in our lane, and it's just, you know, the more we call that back in, that, you know, the only person I am fully responsible for is myself. and my own work, and everybody else will dance around their stuff. You know, it's really quite liberating, actually, when we get to that place. So our own bodies really receive and love the nourishment of cacao. You know, I look forward to it every day. You know, I just completely look forward to, and my body does, you know, like my body knows that it needs it. So from my own experience with working with cacao in bigger quantities, so obviously creating my own brand of cacao, which everybody can also do during this, which I think is a great thing, because then we can share, you know, we can also share our own medicine, is that in the times when I've been chopping and sitting, you know, with cacao intensely, is that she is earth. Like, she is so earth energy. Like, she looks like earth, like she's got the layers of the earth through her, you know, like, yeah, she's just absolutely gorgeous. So the days often, if I don't have cacao, which is very rare that I don't, I mean, I do have breaks. When I go on holiday, I don't tend to take cacao with me and I have a full break, because I think it is good for us to have a little break at times. But if I don't have my cacao, I tend to not have such a good day. It's like one of them things, you know, like when you don't do your yoga practice, your day don't quite go so well. So I find that she's a bit like that. So she's been passed down from through generations. I'm going to go into this a little bit more, which means that we get, you know, the wisdom comes through a little bit like, and I liken it to yoga as well, whereby, you know, the energy of this, of all of the work that's been done before, comes very much through the medicine. You know, like when we do a posture, like it's been practiced, or when we chant a chant, like they've been chanted for thousands of years. So we get all of that lovely energy that comes in when we practice. And it's a similar sort of thing. So my words for her are warm, fierce, and loving. So she, like I said, I liken her to a kind of Kali goddess kind of vibe. Like, you know, she will really hold you in complete love as you transform. Like, this is really what her you know, her magic is. So she comes with wisdom. She's a wise teacher. And also, I found, since I've been working with cacao for sure, that it's tapped me in so much deeper to the wisdom of nature, you know, the wisdom of the cycles. It allows you, like I say, really taking a daily, like for me, it's a lot about calming the nervous system. It's like she kind of weaves her way through, you know, and under the nervous system to really calm and, you know, really center us. And it's as if, you know, it's this bridge between, you know, the human and the heart, like really getting into that lovely heart wisdom that is such of a quiet, you know, small voice. Like, I would say during this journey, I would definitely have an awareness of what is your head and what is your heart, because it's it comes through completely different. The head tends to be quite pushy, and the heart is very quiet and humble. You know, they're like this really different guidance there. So she'll always guide us back to ourselves. And like I said, this is not something that we don't know. It's something that we are remembering. You know, it's just a remembering really of who we are. Now, I like the word alignment, and I love being this idea of alignment, but alignment in itself is not really also like a real thing, because we're always going to be, you know, we're always going to be weaving and moving, like we're women. So our energy is always, you know, it's got that creative Shakti within it. So it's always going to be wanting to create, which means there's always going to be also change and realignment. You know, there's always going to be that movement. We're going to work a little bit more with like the masculine, feminine energies as well, and how they, you know, when we bring them to weave gently together, we can see how we're working a little bit differently in that the masculine is very much needed, the structure, the action, all of that stuff is needed. But whereas we've worked in the past, or we've lived in the past in a way that the action sort of drives the creative forces a little bit behind it, really we want to switch that now, so the creative energy is leading and the masculine energy can then help us put it into practice. And I often think about like the masculine feminine energies, like the male energy is the pole and the female energy is the pole dancer. Like literally the female dances and the male holds the space for that dance. He is the dance floor, we are the dancer. So it's like those kind of ways of working. So slightly a little bit different maybe to how we've lived and run our businesses, and so we can translate this right through how we live our daily lives, how we create things, and also how we run our business. Because if we're running our business from, divine feminine is amazing to be in, but equally, if we're like when I first went into my coaching that I've been in for the last year, I was running my business from complete divine feminine. There was no structure whatsoever in there. And it's exhausting, and that's why I was completely burning out all the time, because I just was not open to the masculine energy at all. Whereas now, I'm just more allowing that structure. If it doesn't fit in with that structure of the moons, the structure of the cycles and the seasons, it doesn't come in. It just doesn't come in. And that, that really has helped me a lot to kind of, I think, make your work more potent as well. So we're going to be vibing with that as well a bit later on as we go into our business side of things as well. So what I find also with Cacao is that, and the invitation from her has been to ground and to slow down. Like this is my message always to everybody, is to ground and to slow down, because when we slow down, our energy speeds up. So this is energetically the opposite often of what we've come to live, really, is that, if we've always got to be doing, we've always got to be busy, and that makes us successful. That is not the way. It's not the way of the divine feminine at all. This is about taking time to slow down, which expands time. So that when we slow down, it gives us more time to be more productive in the time that we've got, and it frees us. It kind of gives us more freedom. So for me anyway, for sure, working with Cacao has helped me to not completely stop pushing, because that is still an energy, because I am a pitta dosha, so I've got pitta in me, and that pitta will always like be pushy. Like it's a male energy, it's very pushy. But I think working with Cacao, it's allowed me to be more aware of that when it's happening, so that I can pull back a little bit and go, no, this is, and like I am definitely in pushy energy. This is definitely head, and like to take a breath, to sit back, to drop into the heart. Like, yeah, this is not how we work now. So I think it's quite interesting as you're working with Cacao to observe people who live in that push, and it will give you a lot of insight in, like I had a full weekend with somebody who is very pushy, in very pitta energy, and I had a whole weekend like really immersed in it. And oh my God, when I came home, I was like, I am not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm definitely more aware of it. Like this is really, it kind of got like, it was like a repulsion of really not wanting to, not wanting to live that way or work that way anymore. So it's just been really lovely to just to be aware of it, really. So also the other thing is I always talk about staying in my lane. So been really aware, and this is where the fierce love comes in, about what is your stuff and what is not your stuff. And family can be our greatest teachers. I've just had an interesting week with my son, And that has, you know, again, given me a little lesson in getting back in my frigging canoe. And you get back in your frigging canoe. So we're in our own canoe, our own love lane. We can't take everybody's shit into our canoe, otherwise we will go under. So, you know, been really aware of where we, you know, where we take in our day-to-day lives as well, you know, where we take on other people's stuff, especially when we move into space holding, because it will absolutely drown us if we take it on. So that, you know, we've got to have this like it's like, it's not a gift, but it's like a tool of this kind of energetic detachment, you know, that we can energetically hold the space. And what I was saying to everybody, I think it was in yoga last weekend or whenever we were together, that when we do it, sort other people's shit out for them, we are disempowering. It's disempowering them. So allow people to sort out their own shit. And all you do is hold the space for them to do that. You know, energetically, we're holding space. It's a different thing. So one of the other things I think that, or I feel, I know actually deep within me that has happened with Cacao is that it has given me a deeper acceptance of myself and exactly where I'm at. And I think this for women especially is quite a big thing. Just having this acceptance and love of all of the aspects, all the shitty bits that we don't like and all the bits that we love, you know, just been really all holding of all of them, because your journey to where you are, whether it's been, you know, a rocky one, you know, we might have had a past that we're not, you know, that we don't want to kind of acknowledge, but it's all part of who we are and it's all got us to this point. So it's, you know, all accepting. So we're definitely, you know, in our practices with Cacao, allow her to show you the bits that are unhealed, the bits, you know, that we can accept and love more of. Just allow her to show us, because she definitely will. And so you might find that things come bubble up to the surface of, you know, or you might get triggers of things that happen, but always been aware that the triggers are always where you're going to get that gift, you know, that lesson. So beginning by setting up an uncompromisable practice is, you know, often one of the things that'll trigger everyone around you straight off. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you've not got time to do this anymore? What do you mean you can't do that for me? You know, so sometimes those, you know, when we start to create and put ourselves ahead in that, you know, in that and hold ourselves, you know, in that space of, you know, I'm going to fill my cup first, and then from that place I can serve, you know. So this is really what a lot of this first bit is about. It's about filling our own cup, really connecting to, you know, allowing ourselves to move through the bits that we, you know, that we maybe don't like so much, or, you know, the things that we might perceive as mistakes that we've made, or, you know, so that we can really accept and hold ourselves in fullness, you know, of, you know, we're always more than enough, way more than enough. And also I think, as anybody knows, if you've worked with me a little bit, is about having fun as well. It doesn't have to be all serious. Do you know what I mean? You can, you know, I think spirituality can be, and this sort of arena can be taken so freaking seriously. And, you know, I think that, you know, we're working with joy, with Ananda, with you know, joyfulness, the heart chakra, you know, the seat of the Hrit chakra. The sound of the heart is a chuckle. It's fun. You know, it's about having fun and play and, you know, really awakening that creativity within us that will help and inspire other women to come and sit with us too, and, you know, and be with us in that space. I think it, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing when we can start to not, you know, not take ourselves so seriously, that we don't have to be perfect. Sometimes we fuck up, and we completely do, and sometimes we rock it, you know, and it's okay. It's all okay. So, yeah, is there anything else I need to say here? Yeah, so you become your own medicine woman. You are your own medicine woman. You are your own, the only teacher. And if there's one thing I would say to get down is eyes in. So we're going to stop looking outside of ourselves for validation. We stop looking outside of ourselves for answers. You know what you need already. You know what you need. So we come into this always turning our eyes in. What is my next best step? What is the next step? What is the next door to open, you know? And also been aware of the doors that aren't opening and stepping away from them rather than wasting time and energy pushing on doors that are not opening for us, so we can start to live with flow, with ease, and yeah, with grace and fun and joy and play. You know, this is what, for me, this is what the heart is about. This is what we're doing. We're dropping into the love lane. So Cacao also allows us to be led to the truth of our own heart, to who we are. You know, what is our truth? So we're really peeling back the layers of of the woman that we are becoming next, like literally. And the more we do that, it's not like for me, it's not about like she's over there and I'm over here. It's about actually you're over there and she's over here and you're moving back to her. You're bringing yourself back to your authentic self always, and allowing more of that to come out, allow more of that to shine forward, and you know, really be able to share that with the world. Has anyone got any questions or anything? Are we all good so far? Does anyone need a muggle pee break? We all good? All good to go on a bit more? Lovely. All right, so that's my kind of journey with Cacao, my own personal journey. So we'll go into a little bit of the more kind of nuts and bolts and the kind of history and you know, the compounds and everything that's in there and why we want to be sharing it. Like, you know, why you know, why if we feel inspired by the medicine, then, you know, like I was saying to like my yoga teachers, it's not about like, I think our work as space holders, whether that is in yoga classes or it's in circle or whatever it is, it's not so much about telling people what to do, but it's about transmitting your love and joy of what you do and why you do it, you know, and that in itself takes away any pushiness of why people have to do it or should do it or whatever. It kind of, you know, you're an expression of it because you're doing it every day. You know, you're sharing your practice. So when you come to hold space for others, this is why the first bit is always about you getting your own practice in place. You're just sharing, you know, you're just transmitting that across. It's just literally, it makes it easy. So we don't have to, you know, we're not having to do, well, we do some planning, but you know, we're kind of transmitting that journey, our own journey, and inspiring it just because we're inspired and because we, you know, it's embodied, like it's embodied in us. It's not coming from the head of what we're learning. It's about us transmitting it because we're living it and we're doing it every day. So the purpose of ceremony and ritual, I'll start there actually. This is also in your manual. You don't need to have your manual at this point, but you can go back to it. So it's something that really we've lost. I think that my belief is that when religion came in and, you know, the kind of church structure came in, a lot of our ceremony, which, you know, which would have been, has been removed from our culture quite a lot, apart from going to church. Literally, we really, all of that ceremony and stuff has been taken away, you know. And really, I think since we've had you know, yoga's come in, I think that's been probably one of the main rituals that many people now have got into doing. You know, we've got into this, you know, there is a gift in, you know, having that time for ourselves. meditation, mindfulness, all this kind of stuff has come into our culture and started shifting and changing how we perceive being with ourselves. I mean, I know that probably maybe 10 years ago, like I would never have put anything out on social media about rituals or witchcraft, or like you just wouldn't have done it. Like nowadays it's quite, everybody's quite open to all this stuff now. So, all of that stuff. When I first started running circles, I mean, the people in the village and stuff were like, oh my, like, what is she up to? And it was really funny. Whereas now it's kind of like expected, like there's no no judgment around it anymore. But actually, again, it's not something we need to learn. It's something we already know, we remember. Because if we go right back in history, across all of the cultures of all of the world, ceremony has always been used to mark transitions from one stage of life to another. So, we have birthday parties, christenings, um, like nowadays, I mean, there's blessing ways and, minat kind of ceremonies, all this sort of, they were all blessed, all these things had a ceremony around them, funerals, they all had ceremony around them. And actually, many of those ceremonies and rituals were performed by women. So where nowadays we see a lot, in fact, a couple of years ago, we worked with a lady, a young girl at the end of life, and we did her full funeral and everything. We did a cacao ceremony in the chapel of rest. We did a full open natural burial ground, and it was just amazing. And we actually had a woman undertaker, and she was saying that like all of this stuff would have always been done by women. It would have always have been held by women. And yeah, again, through the church and the priests and all of that stuff, it's been taken away. But I feel that there is a bit, I mean, I don't know if anybody has any awareness of it, but I know there's a big reclamation of women undertakers now. So we're seeing that a lot, and these natural burials. So we can see it already starting to change and move back to, and again, it's moving back to not to something new. We're moving back to old ways, and I love that. So when we feel into this, like I say, it's not something that we're learning, it's something that's just resurrecting itself and it's coming back. So rituals have the power to reset the terms of our universe until we find ourselves suddenly and truly at home. So the more that we're coming back to ourselves. And what ceremony and ritual does is that it's bringing us back to who we already are. It's bringing us back to ourselves all the time. It's calling us back in. So we might see it, and especially like in from my dance background as well, like the gypsy dance background, is that like in tribe, which has been one of my real inspirations around circle and bringing people back to this kind of thing, is that like people would sit around fire and they would share wisdom, and the older like sacred elders were really revered, where again this is something else that we've kind of has been lost in our culture as well, like the older women are kind of hidden out of view, we don't see them, but they again now I think it is definitely changing, that we're reclaiming this sacred eldership. And the younger women are definitely coming to the sacred elders for wisdom, and I'm definitely seeing that in my circles for sure, that younger women are coming in to those circles. So again, coming back to ritual and ceremony, we look at like the changing seasons. These things would have been honored. The land would have been always honored as well in ritual and ceremony. Women would give their blood, their monthly blood to the land to ensure good crops, because we didn't have Tesco. Like literally we were growing our food and relying on the land to provide us food so that we could live. We didn't have the we don't even I think half the time I even think about it, like we've literally just have to drive down the 10 minutes down the road and we're in a supermarket that's got everything from all over the world. Like, you know, that isn't how things used to be. And I do believe that, you know, more people are moving back to that, you know, growing their own food and, you know, because we're living in quite a toxic, you know, a toxic world. So also rituals tie us to our ancestors. And like for me, every time I sit with Cacao and every time, you know, I sit in circle with other women, for me, like it is complete honoring of the women who have died, who have been persecuted for us to be where we are now. So whenever, you know, we go into this whole story of, you know, oh, I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that, da, da, da. Yes, you fucking can, because so many women have died for us. We're stepping up and we're doing it, you know, like we are doing it because yeah, why would we not? Like, why would we not claim, you know, it's a reclamation, isn't it, of our rights as women to hold space for other women and come together again. And I think that Cacao, you know, can be such a beautiful ally for us. Like she's such a plant ally for us to, you know, to reclaim this ceremony and ritual for ourselves. So she's also a bridge between the past and the future. So she enables us to access, honor, and strengthen our own identity. And you know, this is again another invitation to, you know, always be coming back to more of who we are, rather than trying to become something different or something else. You know, like you know, just coming back to more of our, you know, our unique essence. And you know, I always say, like, you know, there's nobody else on the planet like you, like nobody. And that is such a beautiful thing. Why would you want to be like anyone else? Because you know, you're just amazing and so unique as you are. So the difference between a ritual and a ceremony, a ritual tends to be something that we do really regularly. So we might do brush our teeth. Like that is like make our morning coffee, make our morning cacao. That would be a ritual. That's something that happens. It happens every day. It usually happens in a similar way every day. That is what a ritual is. A ceremony can be more specific. So it could be like a full moon honoring. It might be you know, slightly a longer you know, session. You know, we could walk to the woods each day, that with a dog, that'd be like a daily ritual, but we could create a lovely event that would honor the trees and the land, and that would be more of a ceremony. So we, you know, they're the kind of like differences between the two. So as human beings, we need a ritual and ceremony in our lives. This is something that is very much missing, and it has been very much missing from our lives. And it is, again, it's something that we want to claim back for ourselves. You know, we're seeing so many people with illness, so many women with illness, you know, dis-ease, and, you know, this kind of spiritual nullness, like numbness, like there's no connection whatsoever. We're completely living from head. And, you know, when we take people into something beautiful, like a ceremony or a ritual, like it's really, you know, it's so beautiful for women just to really come into it, and it speaks to them, it awakens something in them, and it's like a remembering, you know, it's like a remembering. So when we create a ceremony for ourselves, we create a gift, and I think the ceremony is a gift. So this next 4 weeks, if you're not doing it already, I would definitely look at holding space for yourself in a lovely sacred ritual, and make that, you know, create that for yourself, whether it is like a daily ritual, whether it is you know, like a full moon ceremony or a new moon ceremony, and really, you know, like eke it out, you know, make a lovely altar, do your journaling, your cards, just really take that time, a lovely ritual bath, you know, just really create that lovely time for yourself. I'm going to go into that a bit more tomorrow because we're going to go into self-massage, but, you know, sort of layering all this in. So it's like, I think that also the other thing is with when we're creating ceremonies for ourselves and others, is to trust that we are always guided. You always know, you know, you will always get the nudge of what wants to come through you, because you are a vessel for your spirit to express itself. So you're the vessel. All you need to do is wait for the nudge, for the inspiration, for the idea, and then put your masculine into that action, you know. So that's how we do it. And it's interesting because I always find with mine, my kind of guidance is very last minute, Lil. It's like sometimes like, I wish you could just come in just that a little bit earlier, just give me a little bit more prep time. It tends to be on my daily walk the day before or the morning of. Like this morning, literally, I jumped in the shower and I just got this thing like switch it up because I was going to do the ceremony first and then the teaching after. And it was like this, no, that don't feel right. It needs to go different. So I always trust that it comes in exactly the way it's meant to, and I'll just follow it. So this is how it rolls. And this is a very different way to especially if you've been corporate living and working, or if you've been in a corporate world, it is a different way. It's just a different way. So often our you know, the ceremonies that we create for ourselves first and for others is something that is beautiful, and it's something that is really, you know, guided by your heart. And so when we then go into that muggle self of, oh, I can't do it, or oh my God, you know, we're in all this thing, you know, like it's something that's offered so beautifully from your heart. So why would it not be received in that way? You know, we're doing it. So the head gets out the way a little bit. So because I think for many of us that are in this work, myself including, and I completely been one of my greatest barriers is I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. It's not going to be good enough. It won't flow. And, you know, and that's head, that's ego. It's just ego. So I think, you know, just having that awareness that when we create it, you know, we're creating from a place of love and it will be received from that place as well. And women love it. Oh my God, they love it. I mean, how wonderful to be held in space, you know, with other women, and there's no judgment, and you know, we just hold each other like it's I was saying to you guys in yoga, like it's not like we're leading a new movement, you know. It's a new movement for women. It's a new experience for women because many women have been in circle and it's not been a good circle. It's not been held well, and it's, you know, it's like you know, this is about creating circles that are really beautiful, non-judgmental, and really healing the sister wound on a really deep level, you know. So, and Cacao is like so here for that. Like she's so up for that. She's like, yeah, she's going, yes, like let's cheer everybody on for doing it. So she's very happy, I think, that we're all doing it. So this is a little bit from your from your journal, and I love working with Lynette Allen's work. If you know me, you'll know that I love Lynette Allen's work, and this is a lovely book. If you've been on retreat with me, you've probably received one of these. I think Shay, you'll probably have on the Women's Blessing, and it's a beautiful book. This one is great to work with Cacao. Because it's got a lot of the Cacao prayers and things in there that I use. So the Women's Blessing by Lynette Allen. So that's definitely a good one to have in place for the next bit of journey. While I'm talking about books, also there's this Chocolate in Mesoamerica book is very in-depth. If you aren't heady, like I find it really hard work, but you might want to just pick it up and just open a page and read a bit. Naked Chocolate by David Wolfe and Shazzy is quite a nice one to pick up. And I love Plant Spirit Medicine by Elliot Cohen. So this is a lovely one that works very elementally with the plants. It's not specifically cacao, but it works. And then Thus Spoke the Plants is also a really nice one to get into. You can get them all on Audible, I think, actually now. If you want a bit of fiction, and this is part of your own work actually, Chocolat is lovely, and I want you to watch that film. That is part of your homework. And Like Water for Chocolate, they're nice sort of fiction books if you want to read, you know, a little bit more into chocolate. So they're my book recommendations, which I think are in your manual, and if not, I'll put them in group anyway. So don't worry too much about that. So cacao, the least processed version of chocolate that you can get. So an ancient plant medicine teacher, heart opener, given sacred status many years ago by the Aztecs and Mayan cultures. It's about the ceremony, the ritual, the space, the meditation, the focus that we must bring into sitting with cacao. So cacao is a deep teacher, a connector between you and you. She opens your intuition, increases your creativity, boosts your health, and brings your focus. Solid raw cacao mass, no sugar, no milk, ceremonial dose made with intention, ritual, and space. Then you will find her. She will arrive in your awareness with such strength. You will get the chance to build a relationship with her. And this is where we are heading. So I'll go through all of the kind of history around, and then I'll show you a little bit. Now, you are more than welcome to work with cacao as a dieta, which is like where you just have cacao and water. And that is actually how she would naturally be served. Her actual like historical name is actually bitter water. And so to work with her in that way is completely fine. And I definitely would recommend you do that a couple of mornings and see what she's like. And then you will get the true essence of why she's called a medicine. And, you know, I love to add all the lovely bits and pieces to make it really beautifully feminine, which I'll share with you as well. But again, you can work with this in any way. I find without all of the additions, she's quite masculine, like there's quite a masculine vibe with it. But again, you know, you can play around with it. So cacao ceremonies date back to as far as 1900 BC, and the first like relics of cacao's kind of preparation or like was actually in the Olmec tribe, which isn't so much kind of seen really. It's more, you know, more about Aztecs and but it was actually the Olmecs who kind of obviously discovered cacao very first. So Central America, the Olmec people before becoming a ritualistic medicine used by the Aztecs, so and Mayan cultures, signifying both life and fertility, and it was often used in blood ritual. So these like sacrifice rituals, at that time, cacao would be mixed with blood to, you know, to honor the land, honor fertility. She's also associated with universal love and a way to commune with their gods. So by sitting with cacao, it gave the, you know, that guidance for the tribe as well. You know, like many work with plant medicine, this is also one of the ways that a tribe would, you know, be able to keep their tribe guided well and held well within that. So in ritual use, cacao became mostly reserved. Eventually, now it started off being a very feminine held medicine, and women would work with it on the land while they were tending the, you know, the fields and growing the cacao. So before it was taken by the men, it was a very feminine medicine. And I find it very interesting that more and more women are actually holding space with cacao now, because it was naturally a woman's medicine. A woman would work with her during pregnancy, during childbirth. You know, it was very much a medicine that was used by women, for women and children actually as well. So it became actually, and I'll tell you the story about cacao as well, but it became, the men kind of claimed it for themselves. So it was taken away from women, and actually women and children were forbidden to work with cacao. They were not allowed to take it at all because the men wanted it all for themselves. And because it was intoxicating and sexually stimulating for the men, they were drinking actually at some points up to 60 goblets a day to retain a hard-on. And that was how they would then serve their concubines. And, and that is how men kind of, to keep kind of planting their seeds and keep that, that, the children going, so back then, cacao was also given sacred status and was used as a trade currency. So it became about very much male, elitist. It was about money. It was actually seen as, in fact, more valuable than gold at one point as well. So it was actually became a trading commodity, for men. So it appeared on the tables of the royal courts of the day. So it became very much, like I say, very elitist. It was for the, for the wealthy. And it was the Spanish who took it out of those native cultures as they invaded and then colonized those areas. So they realized the value of cacao and brought it back to Europe, sweetening it with sugar and spices. And they kept it a secret for 100 years. So it was kept like, it was just kept away from people. So word did eventually spread throughout, and slowly it was made into solid chocolate. So today, much of its ceremonial understanding has been lost, as millions of us consume large quantities of cacao heavily mixed with vegetables, fat, processed sugar, milk, and just about everything else that you can mention. So it was actually Nestle as a company who first added sugar and made it into like a sellable product, that packaged it and made it into like a sellable product. So cacao is a superfood. So we're seeing it coming back, or initially we saw it coming back as a superfood, as in a powder form that we would add to like our juice, like our juice shakes and stuff like that, or to take like as a superfood. So that was kind of like how it was reintroduced. And I think now, I mean, especially over the last, I'm trying to think how long it is back since. So I would say probably in the last 5 years, maybe, it's like the ceremonial cacao is very much like, it's very like, most people have probably heard of it. Even people who are very like muggle and not in the spiritual communities at all, they're more likely have heard of it now as well. So cacao versus cocoa, so these are different. And these are often questions that you will often get asked if people are, wanting to work with cacao. So the words themselves, cacao and cocoa, actually mean the same thing. So they are like English adaptations of the same word. I've just started learning Spanish actually this week. And, I'm finding that interesting because you like the different, the different pronunciations of the same word. So this is kind of like a similar sort of thing. But there are also important distinctions between the two. So while cacao refers to cacao beans that have not been roasted, what is called cocoa is made of beans that have been roasted. So in turn, a product that is labeled cacao is the raw bean and is often packaged as vegan chocolate that has been minimally processed with no additives. And cocoa, on the other hand, is a processed chocolate product, such as chocolate bars and powder. So from if you were to get a raw, like if you've worked with raw diet, I don't know if anyone's worked with a raw diet before, but if you've been on a raw diet before, you'll know that nothing is heated above 40 degrees. ceremonial cacao wouldn't really fall into that category because it is dried in the sun, so it is often taken above that 40 degrees. So although we kind of talk about it as being a raw product, if you were talking to a raw foodie, then it wouldn't kind of class as raw. So the thing with purchasing cacao, and like everybody's got different viewpoints on this. So one of the main things with cacao that I believe is that, and you might have seen this already, that when cacao leaves the rainforest to heal the heart of the world. Now, there's many people, I think the Dragon's Den thing was quite a big thing a few weeks ago around, if everybody's working with cacao, then it will just get completely depleted. I think I feel there is, if we have a reverence for, we're buying it from ethical places. My feeling is if cacao is greater than us, her medicine is greater than us, her spirit is greater than us, and if she decides she's not going to be here, she won't be here, and that's it. That's my belief. I think in our humanness, we can, try and sort of make it a problem out of everything. To me, I think if we're buying from sources that are ethical, that the plant medicine, it is supporting the people within the tribe, where I buy all up for certainly from my own cacao is bought through a female tribe. It is females that handle it in this country. It's females that handle it in Ecuador where it's harvested and grown. Then I am kind of doing my bit to make sure that it is ethical. So there are a few reasons really around that, because there are areas where it's not so well, probably, there probably are areas that are not so ethical really. So we just want to be really mindful of that, really, of where it's coming from. And if we're buying cheap stuff, and that, and again, to explain to your people, if you're selling it, that's why it's expensive, that's why, because for some people, 35 quid or whatever for a bag, and some people are charging way more than that. I mean, I charge 35, some people charge 60 odd quid for a bag. That's why, that's why it's expensive, because it's coming from, from organic growers. It's it's tended, it's looked after, and and it's honored and it's revered. So yeah, we should be paying a lot for it. We should revere it. It's it's quite a big thing. So cacao, ceremonial cacao, is manufactured from a single ingredient cacao. That's it. There's nothing added and there's nothing taken away. It is completely pure from the from the pod, from the bean. It has and I'll put into our group also a video of the fermentation process. So it is also a fermented product, so obviously for gut health, amazing as well. That's another plus to take it, because it is a fermented product, and everybody's talking about fermentation being like the key to good gut health. So it's great for your gut as well. So let's see what else I've got on here. So yeah, so let's move into the nutritional magic. Has anyone got any questions so far? Anyone got any? We're all good? Must be doing my job. Brilliant. So ceremonial cacao is actually also described as Theobroma cacao. So that is another word you'll get bandied about cacao. So it's a Theobroma cacao. So theobroma is the ingredient within the cacao, which I'll go into a little bit in a minute, that is often seen as or described as being closely related to caffeine. So when people say, oh, like it's full of caffeine, it isn't full of caffeine. I think there is a degree of a caffeine-y kind of, like if I have cacao this afternoon, I'll be bouncing probably till quite late tonight. Like some people go to bed and they're completely fine with it. Some people are bouncing around like Tigger till 4 in the morning, and I'm one of them. But I do also do the same with sound therapy, relaxation. Like relaxation has the opposite effect on my brain. For some reason, cacao does the same. And I think everybody's going to be really, it's going to be different for everybody. So it's packed with neurotransmitters, with vitamins, with minerals. We're going to go through just a few of them. So one of the significant specialities of cacao is that its native MAO inhibitors temporarily suspend the breakdown of pure neurotransmitters activated naturally in the brain. So it allows us to kind of be in that space of love vibe for longer. It allows us to stay there for quite a while. And it also replicates that which is within us already. So we've got compounds like magnesium, arginine, phenylethylamine, which is the PEA chemical, serotonin, theobromine, dopamine, tryptophan, and tyramine. So these are just some of the compounds that are in there. Now, one of the contraindications with cacao is actually some antidepressants. Not all of them, but some of them do. And some heart medicines, which I find is quite interesting because some of the main gifts of cacao are its antidepressant qualities and its heart healing qualities. And it is contraindicated for some of those. So in my own experience, and I'm not saying that, anybody is wrong or anything like this around this, but in my own experience with working with cacao, I've seen many, many women coming off antidepressants while working with cacao. I've seen people, one particular lady coming off antipsychotic drugs while working with cacao. I've seen people coming off HRT while working with cacao, people coming off pain-killing meds with working with cacao. So I think if we allow cacao to take her seat within the body, naturally the need for medication may wane. We might not need it quite so much. I would never recommend anybody coming off meds, especially without firstly speaking obviously to their GP or whatever. But I have seen people gradually lowering a dose of antidepressants while they're working with cacao. So this is something, but like I said, I'm not recommending that. But if people do want to come off meds and they express and want, that they would like to come off medication, then if they're okay with their doctor, do it in a really slow way. I do feel that cacao has got a real potential to take the place of pharmaceutical medication. So that would be my in some areas, not all, but I think certainly if people are on antidepressants, and it's more like the old style antidepressants and not so much like the ones like the serotonin ones nowadays that is SSRIs or something, that they're not so much them, I don't think, but I think it's quite the old style of drug. So what happens with the with cacao and some antidepressants is that they will it will inhibit the effectiveness of the antidepressant. That's what it can do. The other thing also is it lowers blood pressure. So again, if people are on high, if they're on medication for blood pressure, it may change the blood pressure as well. So again, it isn't down as a contraindication, but it may be that these areas, antidepressants, blood pressure, And heart meds maybe just need a bit of monitoring, you know, just so people are aware that it can change, you know, it can change those levels within those meds. So neurotransmitters, which is like one of the first ones we'll go into, is that they change the messages between the brain and the body. So they will affect the changes between the brain, the body, and the nervous system. So ceremonial cacao is packed with neurotransmitters as well. So that can really help to kind of calm the nervous system down. It is also a conscious altering, it has a conscious altering capacity. So when it is at, now what I'm talking about here and with the medication and all of that as well, is at ceremonial dose. So when it is a high dose up to, I think it's something like 60, some people go over 62 grams. That is when it's contraindicated. If we're working with a daily dose, which is anything from 10 to 20 grams a day, it is, you know, it's completely safe for me to work with. So when you're working for the next month or so, you want to find your dose, because for some people, like I work with about 16 to 20 grams a day. That might be just, if you are you know, if you're vegan or you're on a raw diet, that's probably going to can be overstimulating. So you might only need 10, you might only need 5. So I would definitely just play with those, you know. A ceremonial dose for somebody who's, you know, very small built and a vegan might only be 20, you know, will have the effect at 20 grams. So, you know, it's kind of like finding your level. First of all, and then like if I do ceremony, I tend to stick on 20 grams for everybody, you know, unless I was doing a very, you know, intimate ceremony where I would take people up to those higher levels. I wouldn't work with them, you know, I wouldn't work with them in a general, you know, a general circle. Really, I would keep it lower. So again, at that level, as much as I do send out an email asking people to let me know if they are on antidepressants, for me, you know, I feel anyway, in my own experience, it's quite safe. It's quite safe to work with that at that level. So endorphins, which activates light and pleasurable natural highs, or euphoric feel-good factors. So those, you know, when we've been out for a run, you know, like not that I run, but if you do run, you know, you've had a good yoga practice, like literally do not run. If you had a good yoga practice, you know, and you've had a good dance and you're feeling good, like these are the you know, like those runners highs, those feelings that this is what it brings. It like brings you up a little bit into that love lane. And they are working with the brain, so it's stimulating a release of sex hormones. I actually used to have somebody who, her husband used to pay for her to come to a cacao and yoga session because she was so horny when she went home. So he used to pay for a session. So yes, it does stimulate the release of sex hormones, reduces appetite, and acts as a natural antidepressant. So we, you know, got these lovely qualities with it. Especially for women, this particular compound, if they're going through perimenopause, because often our sex drive can really plummet when we're going through that. So this can be a really nice medicine for, you know, for just, you know, for enhancing juiciness, I say. So the next compound is anandamide. I talked about it a little bit earlier, or the bliss molecule. So anandamide is one of the most powerful neurotransmitter chemicals because it is of its profound capacity to alter consciousness and activate the heart center. So it's really considered as a celestial molecule, like the bliss molecule. Anandamide is the vital transformational aid for the heart, for the womb also. Now, womb work is becoming much more potent now, because the more we are in that creative, universal energy of the womb space, that birthing energy, cacao really connects us to that. So we can really connect down into this, if you're working in a womb or, women's healing, cacao is beautiful. It's just so beautiful for that. I have noticed also with some of, I think Amy might actually as well, around like period cycles regulating with the moon and stuff as well, while working with cacao. Like, it's just so magical how it just regulates the system in so many different ways. So again, I probably wouldn't advise it, because I wouldn't want to take the responsibility, but it can be used in the early stages of pregnancy. If, again, you are not advising it, the woman takes that on in, as she feels that she wants to continue working with cacao in early pregnancy, there's no reason why not. On low doses, again, keeping those low doses. And very much so working with for fertility rituals, if women are wanting to get pregnant as well. I think cacao is very, very supportive of that as well. And also, what else in there actually? What else is that? Oh, and also during in like labor as well, at the like the end of pregnancy, very lovely to work with as well. If lovely ceremony around, going into labor and things like that. It's a vasodilator, so it actually dilates the blood vessels, so it allows nutrients to move through our system, and blood flow, to flow again as well, flow really well through our system. So it's abundant in serotonin, which is helpful for anxiety, which so many people are suffering with now, stress and PMS. So any sort of pre-menstrual syndrome, anything like fluctuations during perimenopause. Serotonin is very helpful, again, just to rebalance the endocrine system, the nervous system as well. It's a natural antidepressant, again, so it is a stress regulator, and it actually builds and fortifies our stress defense shield. So it gives us that resilient, that kind of resilient protection as well. So when our serotonin levels, I mean, if you've ever been on antidepressants, like I've had a couple of bouts of time in my life when I've been on antidepressants, and like I always say, like when I was on antidepressant, I felt like I was on a holiday from life a bit. It was like, short spaces of time. It just gave me a bit of a step back, a feeling of just being able to cope psychologically and emotionally with life, while I just took a little bit of a break. And then, I've done 2 bouts. I've been on antidepressants for 6 months, both times, to get me, just back up to a kind of functioning level. And cacao can really help us with that as well. So it can give us that kind of resilience, that that ability to cope better. So again, from a space holder and circle holder point of view, if you're getting women that are coming in with all this stuff going on for them, which you will do, because circles naturally do naturally often call that in, then cacao can help on so many levels when people are going through stuff. So dopamine is a hormone neurotransmitter that aids mental concentration. So if you are a person who suffers with ADHD, like it's so massive now, cacao can really support the symptoms of ADHD, and that it's I always find it like a really creative medicine to work with. in fact, that was why I started working with cacao actually in the first place, because I realized how creative I felt when I was working with it. Like, if I'm creating a project, if I'm writing or writing a class or a project, I'll often do it while I'm having cacao, because I always find that it really helps to support that process as well. To kind of help us with that, that overactive. And the other thing also is really good for is Parkinson's disease. So if anybody, again, comes in or is working with or is dealing with people with Parkinson's, it can really help with Parkinson's, because again, it calms the nervous system, and Parkinson's is the disease of the nervous system. So again, there's so many different ways that we can share this medicine really safely to help people. So phenylethylamine, or PEA, is also abundant in cacao, and it is royally known as the love chemical. And it's very same adrenal-related chemical activated by the brain when we fall in love. So when we have that, that first, that swoony love thing, it kind of does that. Now, the other thing interesting with this as well is that it is the chemical also that's released when we orgasm. After an orgasm, and you feel like completely blissed out, like it's that. But it's also released post-birth, so we don't kill our children. So we naturally have it quite high when we've just given birth. And that's what helps us to bond with our children, not to kill them when they're crying like constantly. So that is this lead chemical that is released. So it releases that too. So it will give us more resilience when we're dealing with children or anything that is kind of like, that's quite, exhausting. So arginine is the natural Viagra. So this is the one that the men took it for, is the arginine. And it increases blood flow to the genitals and stimulates sexual arousal. It heightens skin and tissue sensitivity. So it's often utilized by bodybuilders. So often you see bodybuilders take arginine to help them build their muscles and fibers. So, it contains a lot of this as well. So the Aztec Emperor Montezuma consumed up to 50 cups of chocolate elixir before entering his harem, so that he could commune with all of his concubines. So arginine is a magic chemical that will bring a swift flush to your cheeks, activate your sensuality, and arouse sexual energy. So all the reasons why too. And again, actually working with this, so for that particular compound, obviously in couples work. So if we're working with people, if you were working in you wanted to create an environment where you're working with, that masculine, feminine, distorted, relationship thing going on, or like a woman who's in maybe in menopause that doesn't want sex anymore, and or it has no desire anymore, or so it can be like utilized in so many ways of healing and bringing balance back. Into like relationship work as well, if you wanted to take it in that way. So I think there's a really lovely space for that too. So cacao is packed with essential vitamins and minerals, including being a top source of magnesium. So it's one of the highest sources of magnesium, which is one of the, to get good sleep, for the nervous system, to keep us calm, like so many different benefits of having good quality magnesium. Manganese, sulfur, iron, zinc, potassium, copper, and chromium. And in its raw state, cacao has enough of a power punch to reverse many of the deficiencies common in Western diets. So, like, all the reasons to take cacao. So cacao is potent in magnesium, which is one of the most precious and much needed major alkalizing minerals in our body. So if we think about many people who are in dis-ease, they're often affected by inflammation. So cacao is also alkalizing for the system. So it's going to alkalize down. You know, and help with inflammation, which I believe is why I've had so many women that have said they've been able to come off, you know, painkillers for like fibromyalgia, things like that. I've been massively affected by taking cacao because it's again, it's alkalizing, so it's, you know, it's kind of neutralizing that acidity in the body. It's an aid to supporting metabolic process, relaxing the musculatory system, and thereby helping to regulate the heart and the blood pressure. So magnesium is a great healer for the pituitary gland, very important, and also the endocrine system. So it's essential in balancing the brain's chemistry, memory, and concentration. Again, very much needed in perimenopause and menopause, where brain fog, and post-COVID as well. Anybody with those post-COVID brain fog, it's going to help with. It also helps with mood swings, with hormones. You know, hormones are up and down, and so when often, like I had a bleed for a long time, but I know that when I did, I used to crave chocolate. And that is like the female's body intuitive craving for chocolate at that time. So it can fill that, you know, that space as well, and be a more natural source of that. So theobromine, which is the one we were talking about earlier, there's some confusion of the idea that there is high caffeine content in cacao. There's virtually no caffeine present at all, and the stimulant encountered is actually a relative of caffeine called theobromine. So these two active alkaloids are similar in structure, only though they have very different origins and impacts on the system. Although theobromine stimulates the cardiovascular system, it does not charge up the nervous system in the same way that caffeine does. So rather, it helps to relax and smooth muscle, stimulate the heart, enhance mood, act as a vasodilator, enhancing oxygenated blood flow to the brain, the major organs, as well as being a potent diuretic and wonderful aid in the detoxification process. So this is one of the reasons why it's so very important to drink plenty of water when we are working with cacao, because it is in Ayurveda, it is seen as a astringent medicine. So it will soak up the fluid in the body. So we definitely want to make sure we're drinking plenty, you know, we're keeping ourselves very hydrated when we're working with cacao. So it's the #1 antioxidant food in the world, and it comes in with 15 times more flavonoids than blueberries. So these precious antioxidants help in trapping free radicals and heavy metals, clearing up corrupt cells from the system, and supporting detoxification, as well as aiding in the optimization of blood function and fortifying blood vessels and artery walls. So this helps to improve circulation, supports the heart muscle, and regulates blood pressure. So it also has essential fats, which are helpful, you know, obviously really supportive for all of our system, but especially our brain. So really good cacao butter, which is this, the white here, is packed with essential omega-6 fatty acids, and pretty much all of the fats present in cacao are of the healthy kind, which support the function of the brain, growth, development, regulate metabolism, support the reproductive and skeletal systems, and are an aid for healthy, subtle glowing hair and skin. So ceremonial grade cacao is incompatible with many antidepressants and some heart conditions. So again, we need to make sure that we're, you know, checking it, you know, if we're working with it. All right. How's everyone doing? I need a pee break. How's everyone doing? Yeah, we're ready for a pee break. Grab a snack if you need one as well. I don't know if you want.
I literally just had to go. I was like, I can't wait
Yeah,
anymore.
all right, great. Let's have a quick pee break. Grab a snack and a cup of tea. Just have 10 minutes and then I'll just go over this and then we'll break. We can break for lunch then, yeah? All right, my love. See you in a minute. going to do a little screen share. Actually, I'm just going to have a go at this and just see if I can do it. Just let me stop that. And then
It honestly feels like the windows are going to blow in here. Has anyone else got really windy weather?
is it really windy?
Super windy.
Yeah.
Because my sound kept going off every so often. I was like, is this my phone? But I think it's actually every now and then the Wi-Fi cuts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Right. Can you see that? Can you see that little screen? Is that working? There. Can you see that? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have a go at doing this. I've never done this before. Oh yeah, okay. All right. So we'll just go into a little bit of like the kind of process of cacao and how that kind of comes about. I'm just trying to work that out. Yeah, so I'll just wait for Nia. Actually, Nia's not back yet, is she? Just hang on a minute for her then. In fact, I want to go a bit further on than that anyway. I thought I had these all lined up, but I haven't. I had them lined up in the right order. Clearly not. Okay, is everyone all right? So far, so good. Fantastic. Right. I'll start actually with, no, I'll start with that. Gonna have a little quiz. When we come back after, no, maybe at the end of the day, we'll have a little quiz. See, maybe when we come back after lunch, just be aware. Yoga Reliance love a little quiz. No. All right. Okay, so these are the cacao flowers that appear on the stem of the cacao tree. Just let me see if I've got a... got a tree somewhere. So this is quite a big cacao plantation. Hi, Ania, it's back. A big cacao plantation there. And okay, so this is how the beans first appear. I'm just seeing if I can find a full tree. Well, I thought I had one. Anyway, obviously not. So the flowers grow on the trunk of the tree, and then they begin to get pollinated, which I'll show you in a minute. But these are the tiny, tiny little cacao pods that come from the flower. So I'll just go back to the flower. So the flowers are tiny, and they actually have 5 petals, which I love. And 5 is the number of freedom. And I've always felt that cacao kind of infuses us with this feeling or this invitation, a bit like Carly, really, I think, in this, and this is why I kind of work a lot, I kind of liken her a lot to Carly, is that there's always this invitation into freedom. So when I saw that the flower has 5 petals, I thought, oh my God, like this is so aligned. It's just so aligned with the heart. So the flowers are so delicate that there is only one species of fly that can actually pollinate these flowers, and this is him. And he's called the cacao midge, and he's literally the size of a midge. And so these little flies are called the Forsythia midge, or the chocolate midge, the cacao midge. So some of the world's flowers are pollinated by bees, but mainly they're pollinated by these little cacao flies, midges. So the flower of the Theobroma cacao grows on the trunk of the tree rather than on its branches. It takes about 5 years to mature and can produce up to 6,000 flowers in a year. So even though the pollination rate is so slow, the flowers are very difficult to get inside. So this is why we're, like really reliant on these kind of little flies surviving as well. So once the pods start to grow, I'll just go back a bit. So we then get, and I will give you also a process here as well. So this is the full pod, and I think they're around about the size of like, like those small melons, like a small melon kind of size. So they're cracked open, and here you can see the seeds within like a membrane. So they are scooped out, and then this is stripped off, and this is all fermented in like warm vats. But I can't remember exactly how many days, but so long. So it's made by fermenting and then lightly toasting and sun drying the beans, which is what is happening. I can find it here. So the beans are laid out on these terraces and dried in the sun, tended in the sun, and then the husks are peeled, they're dried like this, and this is what these are. So you can buy, you won't be able to see that, I'll show you in a minute, but you can buy the beans to eat, and you can just eat them as well. So the beans fat remains intact, and then we have the next bit. Where's the next bit? So this is then ground and then set into, find the pictures, into blocks, a bit like this. And then they come like I've got here, which again I'll show you in a minute, and bagged and sent out to all over the world, really. So I'm just, there's something else I wanted to. So I don't know if you can see that very clear, but it is in your manual as well. So these are the top cacao producing countries, which is called the Cacao Band, and it runs very close to the equator. So we've got Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and I think Peru is probably one of the most common that you might have heard cacao comes from. It also is grown in Brazil, in the Dominican Republic, on the Ivory Coast, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, and in Indonesia. Now, in Bali now, there is quite a lot of cacao being produced. I know that Lynette is growing it in her garden, and the Balinese cacao is absolutely beautiful. I love it, but it is because of the importing, what's it called, importation taxes and stuff, it's like mega expensive to get it brought over here. So yes, so what I was going to just show you, I'm just going to stop that share now, because what I was going to just, oh, there we go, back to normal. Because what I was going to just share with you now is the like production of and what a tree produces. So if we were to take the average of 25 pods, one tree in a year produces, so 25 pods in one harvest, and each pod has around about 40 beans. So one tree in a year produces about 1,000 cacao beans. So it takes 400 cacao beans to make up a pound, which is like 2 bags of cacao. I'm trying to think how much is in here. This is 10 kilos here, and this one here, and this block here, that's 10. So it takes 400 beans to make a pound of cacao paste, and so it takes 880 beans to create 1 kilo. Oh, it's okay. So when we can, so in a 15-gram serving, which is kind of like about a daily dose of cacao, there is 13.2 beans in 1 cup. So as much as, you know, that, I mean, you know, they produce a lot, and there are a lot of trees growing. That, you know, there's a big areas of cacao being produced. It's still kind of like, you know, we still want to be quite, you know, grateful for, like, you know, that for the medicine, you know, really grateful for the medicine. So what else is going to share with you? So bitter water, that was the name of the original cacao. And the first European encounter with cocoa was in 1502 by Christopher Columbus. So he was the first man to kind of bring this bean, which again was not really understood particularly what it was, back into it, to bring into Europe. So King Charles V received a gift from Cortes in a cargo of cane sugar and cacao beans. So on his return to Spain in 1528, so it kind of disappeared, it wasn't really a thing. And then on his return to Spain in 1528, Cortes brought from Mexico beans with the utensils and the means to manufacture the cacao. And then it was brought back to, you know, to be shared and processed and, you know, created into what it has become really in our chocolate world nowadays. It's a bit of really useless information, but the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was made in 1971, and the Chocolate River and Waterfall were made of 570,000 litres of water mixed with chocolate and cream that went completely rancid and apparently smelt horrific on on the stage. So yeah, I think, you know, I've covered everything that I needed to tell you. I think so. Yeah, covered everything on there. So that's everything on there. So here I've got just a few bits and pieces really that I love to work with. And again, you don't have to do any of this, but I love it. And I think that I would definitely work with cacao just with water and try it and just, you know, have a go with it. Again, get your doses. up and down. I tend to take around about 2 tablespoons a day, is about just 20 grams ish. So 1 tablespoon of ground is about 10. So when I first receive my cacao, or I usually now have what's left over from when I'm chopping it to bag it, because it's like a little duck den in my kitchen, chopping and bagging and weighing. I tend to have what's left, but when you receive your cacao, in a bag, it usually comes in a few that you might get a few little blocks. So what I tend to do is with a sharp knife, and you want like something like this sort of size, like quite a big, like this sort of size knife. I tend to grate it all down, and I put it into a jar like that. And then I like to put a bag of crystals in with mine, because just from experience, I'm just aware that whoever like with food, whoever's handling your food, their energy is going into it. And we don't always know exactly if the energy that's coming through our medicine is clear. So I tend to store it. And even in the big blocks like this, I always put a little bag of crystals in, like selenite and clear quartz and rose quartz, those sort of really lovely stones I tend to store with my cacao. I sometimes put some like dried rose petals and stuff in there as well. So that's how I tend to store mine. Some of the additions that I have in mine is I like my fats. So again, my cacao is my breakfast. So I tend to have because I have it early, there's so much in it. It's like it's a meal in a cup, really. So I tend to have it as a breakfast thing. So I tend to add either coconut oil, around about about a teaspoon of coconut oil, or ghee, because ghee is quite nice. It's very nourishing as well, and it's a good oil. I like a little cup of rose water, so I like a bit of rose water in mine. And at the moment, I'm working with turmeric oil, a little drop of that. Only doTERRA oils if you're taking them internally. And orange oil is lovely. doTERRA orange oil is really lovely in there. What else have I worked with? Peppermint, spearmint's nice as well. I like frankincense. I don't recommend people taking frankincense completely internally. I'm not taking responsibility for that, but I do like it myself. I think it's okay to take. But this turmeric is absolutely gorgeous in your cacao. Vanilla is lovely as well. I have a particular cup that I use. So I always have the same, ceremonial cup. This is a Molineux whisk. So it's said that the spirit of the bean sits in the bubbles. So you want to be getting some bubbles going. So this is like a wooden Molineux. You can actually buy those on Amazon, I think. And what these are great for actually is if you're doing, I've done massive like 45 women's ceremonies before in a field over a fire. So if you're doing stuff like that, these are great. These are just brilliant to work with, because you can, everybody can stir their intentions in. So that's quite a nice thing to do if you're working with bigger groups. So that's a Molineux, and that is the original. That would be the original. Like nowadays, if you've got things like I've got a Thermomix now, like it's the modern day cauldron. So you can put you can use the modern day cauldrons as well. So if you've got a mixer, a blender, Nutribullet, it's a brilliant as well to get the bubbles going on. You can just use a pan and a whisk. You can make it in a pan, then pour it into a blender, or make it in the blender. Anyway, so just finding your own way with it. So spices, traditionally cayenne pepper is used in cacao. I like to use cinnamon as well, because cinnamon is a really amazing spice because it's a blood sugar stabilizer. So it's really good to have cinnamon in. And then pink salt is really good as well. So salt will take salt is a bit like it will take the medicine down towards the kidneys. So when if you're having drinking water, it's a really good idea to have a little bit of salt in it because it helps it to nourish the kidneys better. So for adrenal fatigue and burnout and all that sort of stuff, this little spice mix is amazing to add, to add into your cacao as well. So milks, plant milk always, and we don't use dairy with cacao. I tend to work with organic, gluten-free oat milk. And I found this one on Amazon. It's called Plenish, and it's organic and it's gluten-free because oats are not gluten-free. Now, when you're working with this in circle, if people have got nut allergies, and because many people do make it actually with almond milk, but if you've got anybody with a nut allergy, you're knackered. So I tend to use either coconut milk, which some people don't like. So I've now gone to oat milk because then it's not so much it doesn't taste so much of anything particularly, it's just quite nice. So any other nut milks you're going to need if you are working with nut milk, there's no reason not to, but if you are, you need to make sure you've got no nut allergy people in, so just making sure of that. So almond milk is really lovely. Hazelnut milk is amazing with cacao in your own practices. Cacao butter, this is the cacao butter. So this is what is one of the fats. So you can add that in. So I like to add either coconut oil or ghee, or you can put a bit extra cacao butter. This is amazing to chop. It's like satin. It smells divine. It tastes crap. But it is really, really, like, it's nice to to chop that as well, but it doesn't taste, it just tastes like fat. These are the little cacao beans. I don't know if you can see them, but they're the little tiny cacao beans. They're quite nice too. Like I say, you can buy a bag of them and maybe give people a couple, to try if you're doing a circle. They're quite nice just to chew on. They're really bitter. And then sweetener. So this is jaggery, which I think is a really nice sweetener to use. And it's an Indian unprocessed kind of sugar. And you just grate a little bit off. But that has loads of benefits too. So that's quite a nice sweetener to use. Or dates. Because obviously, again, if you've got people who are vegan, you won't want to use honey, but you can use honey if you want to. But obviously, people are vegan, they won't have that. So that's a really nice sweetener, a date. But then if you're going to use dates, you need a really effective blender. Otherwise, you're going to have all the bits in the bottom. So that kind of works really well. And it's really cheap if you just get it on Amazon. And it has loads of benefits too. And it sort of tastes a bit like cinder toffee. So it has a lovely, lovely taste with it. But you don't have to use sweetener either. So, again, I usually use half of a day, and that's enough for me, or I don't bother. And it's finding your level. If you need it, you might not even need sweetener. I find the turmeric oil is quite sweet, so that makes it taste quite sweet as well anyway. But again, with the oils, I tend to geranium oil is really nice in it actually as well. because if you're working with doTERRA oils as well, like Nia, you can, because of the spiritual benefits of the oils, you can also, I can hear my granddaughter, can you? You can also sort of gear it up within a circle, you know, like if you were doing, I don't know, a circle on abundance and then adding a drop of orange oil in there, like it enhances the whole experience. So I tend to work with the oils in circle in cacao as well to enhance whatever the topic is that I'm working with. So you can do it that way too. Or I'll use it in a little dropper and people just, you know, use it in their field, and maybe they can put it into their cacao if they want to, but if not, then just do it plain. All right. So has anyone got any questions so far? He blasted by science. All right, lovely. So I think what we'll do, we'll break for lunch. Let's come back about 2 o'clock. It's not nearly 1 now. So if we come back at 2 with your cacao, so we're going to go into a little ceremony. Oh, I'll tell you what I didn't say. If you haven't come across these are like a game changer. When I first started doing ceremonies, I was literally carrying it around in a slow cooker, driving it in my car, which is mental. And then I've discovered these thermos flask. This is a 2-litre one, like absolute game changers for your ceremonies, because you don't have to carry it around, and it just holds it at a temperature for ages, like it lasts for ages. You might also, if you're going to do a ceremony outside, which I would definitely recommend you do for yourself, then you might want a little small thermos flask, which you can put your cacao in as well, to, you know, to go work with her outside. So that's quite a nice thing to do too. And if you want to bring it in a thermos flask this afternoon, then you can do that. But we're going to go into a full like cacao blessing, intention setting. We're going to do a organoleptic tasting, I think it's called, and then some journaling, which will be all specifically around cacao and our intentions and everything. And then we're going to take you on a little journey, and then we'll close. So does that sound good? So have a lovely afternoon, lovely hour, I mean, and I'll see you back about 2 o'clock. Yeah. All right, my loves. See you in a bit. Bye.